Hey guys,
Hi, Taylor.
Hey,
are you guys recording really quickly on your end?
we
Video.
are. We are.
Okay, awesome. So, really quick rundown, guys. Going to do a quick intro. We'll introduce you and we'll get this party started.
Great.
All
Awesome.
right. All right, guys. Today we are talking about and with the GOATs. No, I don't mean Tom Brady. I'm talking the GOATs of reality TV. We are celebrating Prime's new reality TV competition series, The GOATs. And here with me, I have contestants Joe Amabile from Bachelor
Amabile.
Nation and CJ Franco from FBoy Island. Joe, did I butcher your last name? Because this was a discussion
You did. You did.
in
You
the
were
room
close.
prior.
You were close, and I sorry for interrupting your intro, but you were close. You
Is
were
it
close.
Amabile?
It's a Amabile.
Amabile.
Yeah. It's not an easy one. It's Italian. When I go to Italy, they are the only ones that pronounce it correctly. But you did a decent job.
Shame on me because those are my
Good.
people. My mom was born there. So you know what?
There we
That's
go.
okay. That's okay. What's up, guys? I'm excited.
Yeah.
So
Same.
you know what's crazy is that I actually did an episode of my show 3 years ago at this time when F-Boy Island was going viral. And I said at the time, like, I'm really looking forward to this. What an escape at the time for world events, what was going on in the Middle East. And here we are today. It's like nothing's changed. And so with all that, for better or worse, following you guys around with cameras is, the entertainment of America. So I'm sure, to kick things off that you guys had a really good time doing this. I take it. You had a lot of fun, I'm sure.
It
Oh,
Oh,
was like an
CJ's like,
unreal experience.
yeah, I think the show was a blast. And I think what was nice about it is it was meant to be a comedy,
Mhm.
and there is something just enjoyable about being able to make fun of yourself.
right.
Especially when you're doing something like this show where you feel I can't speak, feel silly. And yeah, it was a blast. Honestly, it was a blast. I think this is the hardest I've ever laughed was on this show.
I think it's so good spirited. The whole cast, everyone is so impressive and getting us all together with Daniel Tosh as our babysitter. I mean, what an experience. And, he made us laugh. He was our babysitter. He took
He
care of
was.
us. He had us do
Good.
games we didn't want to do. And, he touched me with his heart and
Oh,
his
I
humor.
was waiting for I
He's like,
was waiting
what?
for the
Yeah,
dot
this
dot dot
podcast.
with his heart and soul. I mean,
But I think that's really what this show is about heart and like building confidence and the connections that we actually got to make, even though it seems so goofy, and it is. Watching us all get tortured is just hilarious.
so let's kind of zoom out as I like to do on my show and talk big picture.
Mhm.
And, I've been a red carpet reporter for years. I've interviewed a ton of reality TV stars. And something that I've noticed, and that's just a fascinating phenomenon, right, in our culture, is these kind of go in tandem, but how it just becomes like more and more shameless and crazy. It's like, what won't people do? So, like, does the limit exist of how shameless, like, what happens if we don't put a cap on that? But B, what do you make of the idea of reality TV being a vehicle in that, like, anyone and everyone just wants to be famous, right? Like, what do you guys make of that on the whole?
Hmm. Well, yeah, you can't put I don't know if there's a limit anymore. I mean,
Really.
just like even, me being from Bachelor, like you look at Bachelor and the big thing at the end of Bachelor is getting engaged. Now there's Love is Blind. Guess what? Now you got to get married. Eventually there's going to be a show where it's like you better get
Right.
pregnant. You better
Right.
you better have a kid. So, yeah, I think like
Like
It
Mari,
has to be a
Mari
boy.
who? You are the father. It's like 2.0. Yeah.
Truly. So yeah, I don't know. In reality TV, I think that is the interesting thing. It's like where is the limit if there ever will be one? I mean, I don't know.
And CJ, what are your thoughts too on, like I said, the idea of like people just, it's like the everyday person just wanting to be famous. And I feel like it's taken it's become a whole new beast. Like I always think of the Real World, the OG. That's all right. It's like stop being polite and start being real. And they had no idea. versus what it is now, and the idea of making the everyday person famous. Like, what do you guys, what's your take on that from like seeing it from both sides?
I think it's so cool. I think the inclusivity is amazing. And like growing up, I didn't see a lot of like myself represented anywhere. And it wasn't until I got to do like FBoy Island where I think I'm so weird and like no one gets me. And getting to reach people, um, there's room for everybody in reality. And I think that's kind of amazing.
I don't consider reality people famous, so I don't consider us famous.
Dead.
I just feel
Dead.
like
Has anyone ever stopped you in the airport?
sure, but I don't
I'm dying.
I when I think of fame, I think of
Like
like
old Hollywood?
yeah, I think of like Beyonce,
Sure.
Leonardo DiCaprio. That's famous in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's so much. I really appreciate that self-awareness and deprecation of like, okay, like I'm not Celine Dion. Like, let's prioritize. I only have 2 minutes left, but I wanted to ask you guys, something that always fascinated me. I moderated a panel at the Writers Guild about Unreal, that We TV show, right? That was peeling back the curtain in a satirical way of how The Bachelor was so produced and contrived. And, we had the hills, the big reveal of how, insinuating it was all staged. So with that being said, how do you guys feel about being transparent of what really goes on, the manipulation and all that? Or should it just be left up to fun for the audiences?
I mean, I truly can only speak from my
Mhm.
own experience. And I never feel like I'm getting manipulated. I kind of always just go on these shows and I'm just like, all right, like this is what you're gonna get. This is this is me. And then when I watch it back, I'm never like, oh, that's not how I should have come across. I'm always like, yeah, it makes sense. That's who the fuck I am.
Yeah.
I feel exactly the same. I
Yeah.
feel like I always come across as myself. I hear about people that feel like they're produced or how they have an edit that isn't them, but they only have what you give them. So,
Facts. Facts. And lastly, you guys were both on love shows. I mean, Joe, you married someone within Bachelor Nation. And, Nick Viall had his wedding this weekend with a ton of Bachelor people there. So
I was
something,
there.
an interview I had that really struck me was with Chris Soules. And he was like, he was so real. He's like, it's really hard because people will act one way on camera and they'll be completely different when the cameras stop rolling. So kind of last thoughts on that, people should peel the curtain back. Like, what should people know about that and keep their eye out on when we're watching these shows?
Well, I definitely agree with Chris. I do think that happens. I just so happen to get very lucky with who I married,
mm,
Serena, where she is truly like one of the best people I've ever met, and who she was on the show was who she was in real life. So I don't have that experience, but like, yeah, I definitely think that's something you need to look out for.
I think there's certain people that just turn on with the camera, and there's people that are just who they are all the time. And I wish that I had been on this show with Serena instead of Joe.
That's fair. Yeah.
She's so
Next
cool.
time. All right, guys, I have to wrap, but Godspeed. Thanks for entertaining us and, sacrificing yourselves to the, like I said, entertainment of Americans in that way. So we appreciate you.
Thank
Of
you so
course. Thanks for
much.
having us.
Hello, how you doing, Lauren?
Hi, I'm good. Hi, Taylor. How are
Well,
you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm just gonna do a quick little baby intro and we will get this train rolling.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so next up in competition for the GOAT is Miss Lauren Speed Hamilton, who obviously got the green memo today. I mean, look at us.
Yes. I love green. It's one of my favorite
Oh,
colors.
same. Oh, I like the little didn't even plan it, but great minds think alike.
Yes.
So Lauren, we just welcome. So excited to have you. Just got off with talking with Joe and CJ,
Mhm.
and I was telling them, crazy enough, 3 years ago at this time, I had done an episode on FBoy Island when
Oh,
it was
wow.
going viral and really looking forward to it as a nice breather from what was going on in the world. And here we are now, same thing, and why I'm so looking forward to this today.
Yeah.
So reality TV is just the gift that keeps on giving and being our escape and America's distraction and entertainment, if you will. So
Absolutely.
how do you feel about that? And, being a part of that machine?
You know what? I think that it's amazing, actually. I think that it's needed. I think all of us kind of need to give our brain a break where we can just put something on, whether it's mindless or it's just entertainment and funny, and kind of have those moments with ourselves, grab our wine, grab our popcorn, and just kind of tune out, especially with Love is Blind coming out during the pandemic. I mean,
Yes.
most of the supporters that me and Cam have literally built this bond where we are a part of their like life trauma of that moment. Like so many people come up to us and they're like, oh my God, you guys literally got us through quarantine. It was us and Tiger King. Like that's all the people were at home watching. So like people will remember that like for the rest of their lives. And to me, that just blows my mind that we're connected with people all over the world in that way. And it's a blessing.
That's a really good outlook. And for those of you who don't know, Lauren is an OG, was on season 1 of Love is Blind, and is married to Cam, who is also on the show, which you didn't want to compete for the GOAT with your man?
I would have loved to have done that. Like we've been talking about that all day. Like if Cam was on and he was my partner, we would have took it all the way. Or people would have like put the X on our back because they knew that we were going to go hard for each other. Or we could have flipped. Who knows? It just would have been good TV.
Dream team. Well, with that being said, and I'm sure, by the way, we'll get to that because this competition series is to see who is the GOAT of reality TV. So I imagine it's reality TV on steroids. And as Joe and CJ and I talked about, the shamelessness of people on reality TV it just knows no bounds, right? So I'm sure that you have stories, but it's interesting, Lauren, because I made a joke. It's like, you're part of this machine and you have such a great outlook on it because I feel like a lot of people are torn, right? A lot of people are like, is it creepy? Like we're following them with cameras, invading their privacy. But then on the other end of it, it's sort of like, but they signed up for it. So I really appreciate, your outlook on that.
Yeah. You know what? I think that reality TV, when it's really reality and people watch something that they can relate to and it feels real to them, and especially when it comes to representation, being a Black woman who's in reality, excuse me, prior to Love is Blind, I'll be honest, I didn't see a lot of women that kind of represented me. I saw women that were kind of catty and like to fight and not kind of like the quirky, little bit weird, humorous kind of in her own lane. And I know that I've had so many women come up to me and just people in general, like, I'm so happy, like you did this show, and just seeing you like makes me happy, and you represent something for me. You remind me of my cousin, you remind me of my sister, you remind me of myself. And for me, I think that's the beauty in reality TV because it gives people a platform who make you feel at home. Something about them makes you feel comfortable.
That's actually so true. And it reminds me, Lauren, I actually was a producer, not in TV, in another department, editorial at VH1, when Love and Hip Hop was like at its peak when Cardi B was on. And so you talk about that sort of like caricature of like women being catty and all that. And that's so true.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, we talked a little bit about this in the last session, but I've interviewed a ton of people on these reality shows and, Bachelor Nation and what have you. And one that really stuck out to me was with Chris Soules, who said that it's really hard because people will be one way when the cameras are rolling and one way, when they're off. And as someone who's had a successful relationship from these shows, which let's be real, right, are often mocked, the people and contestants on them are often mocked. What do you make of that? And what do you have to say about that?
Wow, you mean in terms of people being kind of different when the cameras are on and off? To me, I think that that's such an interesting take. Like I try to be myself all the time. I think that's why people have really kind of supported me and my husband Cam the way that we are, because we're just genuinely ourselves and we don't try to become a character. And even going on to Love is Blind, that was my goal. I didn't want to be anything but myself, because I feel like when you create a character, you have to keep that up because that's who people think you are, and you just will always be that. Of course, people can change, but just remember, if you're going to pretend to be something, that's what people expect from you all the time. I just don't have the energy. Okay, it's easy to be me.
Tired.
You know what I'm saying? It's easy to be me. I don't got time for all that.
And on the flip side, Lauren, I also appreciate when people we talked about in the last interview, like the transparency of shows like The Hills, right? That have been like, this whole thing is like staged or scripted. And I really appreciate people who have been like, you know what, I played the villain and I committed to that role.
Yeah. I mean, people love to be the villain nowadays because that is
Right.
like infamous, you know?
Right. I sadly already have to start wrapping with you. These junkets are always so fast. But something that cracked me up in the last one is we talked about the idea of everyone just loving the idea, whether it be reality TV or social media, being famous now, right? And reality TV being a vehicle to that. And Joe laughed and he was like, I am self-aware enough to not think of myself as famous.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
I would love your take on that. And also, I know that you're an entrepreneur outside of this. So, talk to me about, because so often these people on reality shows, especially relationship ones, that encompasses their entire identity, personality. So, talk to me about that. Like the idea of like everyone wanting to be famous and being pigeonholed as like the love and relationship girl, right?
Gosh, man, that's such a loaded question. And it's a good question as well. I think wanting to be famous, first off, fame is not everything it is cracked up to be. And most people that are famous kind of, it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of opinions. And it's just mentally something that is not for the faint of heart. In that same token, sorry, what was the second part of your question?
About you having an identity outside of like
Yes.
Love is Blind and
Thank you.
Cam and
Thank you.
relationship.
Yes.
And,
Thank you. And also for me, you know, being on Love is Blind and that being such a huge, colossal show, but also being, you know, a content creator, I think it was important for me and Cam to kind of still appreciate Love is Blind, but at the same time, using our social media as tools to really take back our lives and take back, you know, our story. Because when you do go on television and, you know, you have the media and reality TV and that's edited a certain way. And even though it's like you go in and you're being yourself, it's still someone else telling your story. So social media for us was extremely powerful with our YouTube, being able to connect directly with our fans and just kind of using that as a vehicle to just take back our power. And we've been doing it ever since. I think that it's kind of unheard of to be a reality couple that got married on a show and people still are really invested in us almost 5 years later. And this is the first time that I'm coming onto another show. So that's a blessing. And that speaks in volumes with just how we've used our platform.
Well, I love your outlook. And sadly, I have to let you go, my fellow green queen. But hopefully we touch base. And I'm sure that people are going to get the escape and entertainment that they need from this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Taylor.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.